Family-centered, Christian-based, grown in the heart of the Midwest. Talking to people from all walks of life.
The world needs more encouraging stuff, honest conversation. I always put my biblical spin on everything because that's my foundation. My name's Bubba. What is up?
Life happens. Life happens. Don't worry about not getting on here on time. It's not the first time, but it is just a good reminder that, man, life with kids, you got to be flexible, right? You got to be flexible.
Absolutely. Yeah, we thought we were handling everything well this morning. We have 4 kids. One woke up sick, and then we also have our niece here with us this weekend. And so she is only 8 months, and she sleeps all through the morning. So we typically will wake her last minute if we have to go somewhere. And we had all the kids in the car ready to go with Patch, and one of the baby was still sleeping. So I went to get her, and she had soaked through her diaper. So she had to have a little bath, and she had to have new clothes on. So all the last minute things you're thinking she's going to be okay to go for a ride and go with him to town, but she was not. So we had a 6-minute delay on the podcast this morning because of that. Yeah.
6 minutes is nothing. I love it, man. Kids, they'll keep you on your toes.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the best, fastest growing real life podcast on the market. Welcome to Women's Month. It's Women's Month in the month of May. Starting off with my guest today. This is going to be awesome. We are trying to have just female guests for the entire month of May and maybe even a little bit into June. We'll see how that works. I saw our demographics were starting to slip in the female category. So got to show our lady listeners some love and get those numbers back up, right? That's right. Yeah. After all, this is not a place where we struggle to define what a woman is, like one of our Supreme Court justices. We know what a woman is, we know what she can do, and we know how valuable they are, not just in our homes, but in the eyes of God as well. So today we got the founder of the country's preeminent pro-life jewelry company, Natan, who makes beautiful jewelry that you can, see if I can get this tagline right, that you can swim, sweat, and shower in. But it's not only a beautiful product with lots of variety for every taste. She vows to give back 20% to pro-life pregnancy resource centers to support both moms and babies in their time of need. This is actually the Hebrew meaning for Nate, and I got that off her website. It means to give. So she does. She puts her money where her mouth is, so to speak. Our guest today has garnered the support and even rubbed elbows with some bigger, more well-known names. If you watch Good Luck Charlie like my kids did, you know Lee Allen Baker, Allie Beth Stuckey, Riley Gaines, Lila Rose, and Noah Estrella. Yeah, she's been there. She's seen him. She's been there. She knows him. But ultimately, this former college cross-country star is just another sinner saved by the grace of God who is eternally grateful for her role as wife and mom. And today you get to hear her story. That's what we're bringing you. The pride of the Alabama pro-life effort, Chynna Cochran. What is up, girl?
Hey there. I am so honored to be here. It's so fun.
Yeah, I love doing those intros and see people's response. They're like, oh, wow, look at this guy go. Just build me up like that. Okay.
Yeah, I could take that. I'll take that little clip and I'll just save it to when I need it, you know?
Yes.
That's
yes.
great. I love it.
I
so
think
sweet. Thank you.
You're welcome. Phyllis Robertson said the same thing. She goes, I think we're going to clip that. And anytime I need a little pick me up, we're going to play that to kind of boost our self-esteem again. So,
yeah.
All right. To the audience, guys, if you're new here, maybe you stumbled onto us by mistake. Maybe the algorithm threw you and threw our stuff in your feed and it actually worked for us. It usually doesn't do that. Maybe you're only here today because of Chynna and the pro-life movement and jewelry. I'm not sure, but whatever reason you're here, you're in the right place. I don't care how you got here. God doesn't make mistakes. So we're glad to have a chance to earn your support. So if you like what you hear today, make sure and like, follow, subscribe wherever you're listening to podcasts or watching. It's all high def video nowadays. You got to do video. So maybe leave a nice comment. Let me know what you're thinking. That would help as well. If you want to see bonus content, daily episode teaser reels, we're going to chop this thing up and put it out there every single day on social media. Go to Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Those are the big 3. That's where we're at. I don't think you'll be disappointed by anything we've done in the past. So if you get bored or you're in the car, go back after this episode and start listening to some of the old stuff. It's all good. So, but let's get this episode started right now. All right, Chynna, before we get into your story, quickly tell the audience if they're new to you and this is the first time they've seen you or heard of you, just quickly tell them a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Yeah. So, like you said, my name is Chynna Cochran. A lot of my friends call me Chai. I am the founder of Natan. A lot of people know me from that. I, like you said, I'm a runner. I've ran my whole life. That's just something that I use to help me cope through life. There were a lot of ups and downs, and running was the one consistent thing I could absolutely get up and do every morning. So I've done that since I was about 10 years old. I am now 35 years old. And
What do you guys like to do as a family in your downtime?
yeah, so we actually all love to run. All of even our
Okay.
nine, yeah. My husband runs, our 9 and 12-year-old run. We have a double bob stroller because we have a 3 and 2-year-old. So he'll push that because it actually helps him run better to have that stability. He just likes to have it, and it's 100 pounds, so I can't do it.
Yeah.
So we run together. We like to bike. We love to go to a trail local, and we just bike the trail together. And then babies will be in the back, and the big girls will bike with us. We like fishing. We used to have a boat. We love to be out on the water. I hope that one
Nice.
day we'll do that again. That's always fun. Anytime we can get near the water, we love the water. So we're not too far here, and if we can, we will. Our girls love to surf. So anything that's family oriented, we want to do it.
Yeah.
Just anything. If one of us likes something, we could absolutely not even enjoy it, but somehow we manage to realize we all love it just because the
Yep.
other person's doing it. So we are getting really involved in our local church. It's a small Baptist church here, and if they have a play on, like Patch was in their play recently, if they've
Yeah.
got like VBS is coming up soon, and our heart is just to be as involved as we can. So we're a part of that.
Love
Just
it.
all the little
Love it.
things. Yeah.
Man, yeah, I told my kids, I was like, as you guys grow up and we do these like Christmas and Easter dramas and productions at church, like they're going to be some of your best memories. The behind the scenes, behind the stage, like getting to know your brothers and sisters that you worship with and in like those are just great. Yeah, get the family involved in your local church, guys. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, let's do this. If you're ready to do it, let's go back to the beginning. Let's talk childhood. What was it like for a young Chai growing up?
Absolutely. Sure. So I was born into a situation that was a little different than just a normal family unit. My mom had dropped out of high school at 17 because she fell pregnant. And so she married her, high school sweetheart who she was pregnant with. And they ended up having another son. So they had two sons back to back. And then a year later, she kind of ran off and had a situation and came back, and she was pregnant, didn't know who the father was. And so that kind of starts my childhood because if it gives you an idea of, I was an unwanted and unplanned pregnancy. And so there was this kind of like this cloud over me my whole life that I didn't understand because it was never mentioned. And so from the very beginning, my mom was in fear. Her husband was very abusive. So she actually had to flee from that situation when she realized I was a girl, because there were things that were said about if she had a girl, what that would look like for her, unfortunately. Yeah. I don't know if I ever mentioned that to you. So she did flee, and she ended up in a Penelope house, which is a safe house for women and children who've been abused in
Yeah.
our area. But before she did that, she did drop me off with my grandparents for a year. So it was like this back and forth, up and down, inconsistent. What do I do with this child? I think there was just a lot of stress. I was meant to be adopted. I didn't get adopted. My mother's mother had agreed to keep me, and then she ran off before I was born. So there was this kind of like, oh no, I have this daughter and don't really think I can parent her well. I want to. I love her. I'm in love with her from the ultrasound. She's perfect. And, a mother, she's
Yeah.
perfect in my sight, but I don't know that I'm fit to do this. And so I think my mother just had it was just pain, a lot of pain and feeling alone and isolated. The people that were meant to be there for her weren't. And so, she just carried that through unintentionally. There was just that burden of me, in her life. And then when I was 4, she got remarried and married my stepdad, who is the only person I ever called dad, the only person I ever knew as dad. He was brilliant. I mean, just an amazing person. He was so smart at everything he did. He was a businessman. He was really successful. He worked in insurance, and I just grew up hearing all of the insurance jargon and all of these conversations. He, at one point, had a private jet that he would fly me to these meetings in. The first flight I ever took was with him. time. So I had this stepdad who took me on as his, like, just appreciated me as his, never once made me feel like I didn't belong. So the boys had this attachment and affiliation with my mom's husband, my mom's first husband, who I didn't know if he was my father at the time. I didn't know what the story was. There was no real story. It was just like, yeah, that's your dad, that's your mom, leave it at that. But in my heart as a kid, it was my mom and then my stepdad were my dad. Like I didn't care or need to know the details. I didn't know how that worked anyway. So I just wanted to believe that I belonged where I was. And by 4, you kind of forget what happened before that. But there were just things, all throughout my childhood, even though I had a great stepdad, my mom was really distant. She didn't mean to be, but I think it was just this pain, guilt, shame that she carried. There were abortions in the situation too. I don't know at what point, but there were definitely 2 of my siblings were aborted. I was told that at 8 years old. I was told I should have been aborted. I was told I was adopted. I mean, there were just things that were said to me all throughout my childhood that would create in me an isolation where I would just go and sneak away. I had this closet in my room and I would sneak in the closet, inside the closet, and get a little pop light out and just read books, read the dictionary, not even kidding. And
Wow.
write in my journal. I was a writer. I've always written. So I would write in my journal as a little 8-year-old, just trying to figure out why I felt so misplaced and everyone else seemed so happy, even though they weren't in my world. They seemed better fitted for the family than I did. So I really struggled. I mean, I really struggled. We weren't a Christian household. There was no Bible reading. There was no church. There was no Christian, there was a Christian neighbor. I remember her and I got in real big trouble with her because I was apparently really disrespectful. And so that's all I knew about Christians was you have to be really careful how you talk to them because your mom's not going to like it. I didn't know. I actually ended up teaching there. We moved to another neighborhood and I taught the pastor's kids how to play poker. I don't even know how to play poker to this day, but apparently that was like the sin of all sins. I didn't know. They were Baptist family. I'm like, oh my goodness. So it was just like, all I knew about Christians was you have to be really careful, So I didn't really have an interest in that. I knew there was a God, but I didn't know if he was ever going to accept me because apparently I couldn't get it right as a kid. So that's,
Man.
I don't know if that's just kind of like an intro. If you have any questions or want me to elaborate and then move forward.
No, that's, man. I mean, I don't want to say that's stereotypical because that's not, but like the trauma, the healing, the like knowing the end of your story, you can see like that's how kids cope sometimes, man. They gotta unplug and get away from it all and just kind of go to a different world and without any support there or help. A lot of times it doesn't, those stories don't end up the way yours do. Those kids have major issues and they just want out. They just want out. They just want to end it. And we're involved in the mental health movement up here and with Alive and Running and stuff like that. So yeah, you can just see how that kind of trauma, man, there needs to be support there. So, and I love you talking about the church, the Christians next door, especially if it's a Baptist church, man. They think, my goodness, you can't, don't swear, don't drink, don't dance. I mean, it's just like, okay, well, yeah, some of those things aren't good. So yeah, don't do them, but that doesn't make us legalists. We know that doesn't earn your salvation by staying away from poker. I mean, my goodness, but yeah, if you develop a gambling problem, maybe we're not far off on that. Maybe you should watch out, but
that's right.
So did they ever rub off on you? I mean, because I'm always thinking, okay, how do you reach the people in your circle? Your platform's pretty big. You're getting the message out there to thousands. This podcast is reaching hundreds, but it's about reaching those people in your circle of influence. Did those neighbors, and instead of just nitpicking what you were doing wrong or the troubled kid next door, did they ever like say, hey, come to church with us, let's tell you about Jesus? Did they ever tell you about being born again?
Yeah, that's a good question. So they actually never did anything to me to say you did the wrong thing or you were disrespectful or you shouldn't have taught my kids how to play poker. Like none of that actually happened. It actually happened within the walls of my own home. It was like, Chynna, you cannot be disrespectful. She's a Christian. Yeah, it was this narrative. You better write her a letter. And it wasn't that kind. I'm being really sweet about it.
Sure.
It was pretty bad. And so I would have to sit there and write the letter. And I remember walking up with shaking hands, reading to the pastor's wife next door, like, hi, I'm so sorry. And she was just honestly the most gracious, precious woman I remember from my childhood.
There you go.
Just so beautiful, like full of light. And I remember just like, I think her name was Jenny. And I just remember thinking that she was just so precious. I didn't want to sin against her. I didn't know what sin was, but I didn't
Yeah.
want to do that. I didn't want to make her feel bad about herself for sure. And if it
Mm.
was, if something I had done had led her to that point that she wanted to tell my mom, which looking back as a parent, she was probably doing everything she could. I mean, it was probably very gentle, just, hey, Chynna said this earlier, and that I don't know if she's going around saying this to adults or whatever it could have been. I don't remember. I don't know what I actually did,
Yeah.
but it was within the walls of my own home. So with the poker thing, the same thing. We moved into another neighborhood, and it just came through that, oh yeah, she was teaching the kids how to play poker, and the Baptists weren't angry about it. It was
Okay.
more along the lines of, I got into the walls of my house and I can't believe you taught Baptist pastors' kids how to play, and it turned into this
gotcha.
thing where I didn't know. I just didn't know. And if children aren't taught, they cannot know. If they don't know
Nope.
the scripture, they cannot know. And so I learned that with our kids every day. They love the Lord. They read the Bible. They'll be telling you what they're studying in Leviticus. They have a knowledge of God, but they still don't know some things. They still
Sure.
don't know how to interact or how to socialize. Sometimes they're homeschooled, so we're constantly learning how to communicate with other people. And
Mhm.
if something comes across as either prideful or just not considering the other person, we still have to pull them back and say,
Mm.
hey, let's talk about the way you addressed that earlier. Did you really feel this or that? And children just don't know. But in my situation, I wasn't given a lot of grace or really understanding. I just knew the Christians were better than me. I couldn't gain what they had, and I didn't have the right background to get there. I thought they were Christians who had always
Wow.
been Christians, and I was on the outside, but I did love them. They were people that I looked at and I thought I want to hang out with them. And actually those kids who were pastors, they pastors' children, they ended up inviting me to their church, and I ended up going into a play with them and being an
Yeah.
angel in the play. And
Yeah.
I remember just little things like that where I would go, they let me be an angel in the play. Do they know who I am? Do they
Yeah.
realize who I
Yeah.
am? But I would still soak in. I learned the fruit of the spirit during that event, and I never forgot it.
Yeah.
So you never know if you are a believer, and it helps me today, because I am a believer, and my life has been radically changed by God's love. I am now on that inside, if you will, where people look at me and they go, like just yesterday or 2 days ago, someone was saying to me, a security guard was saying to me, well, you're not a heathen. You don't know what it's like to be me. And I looked at her and I
Oh.
said, actually, do I? And I'm able to stop and hear people in their brokenness, in their
Mhm.
fear of, I'm just a little too far on the outside for your God to welcome me in. I can now say, actually, it was the people in my life that welcomed me in, let me be angels in the play, let me sit around at their dinner table while they said grace, let me have no clue how to say amen. But, do I say amen, amen? What am I saying next? Like, they let me fumble, they let me make mistakes, they let me just in their house,
Yeah.
they let me play with their kids, even though it was a bad influence at times,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying let all the bad, like today's world is a totally different world. I'm not
Right.
encouraging just
Right.
letting whoever into your home. There should definitely be monitoring and guarding of your own children, but you never know what inviting someone to a dinner table with your entire family could do for them.
Yeah.
You never
Yeah.
know.
Oh, I love it. I
So
love it. So it was your mom's own preconceived notions of Christians, yet the Christians themselves were willing to show you grace and love and all how they should. They were doing it right. See, and that's
mhm.
sometimes I tell people, man, don't go judging the Christians in churches if you're not rubbing elbows with them, if you're not trying to go to worship and spend time with them. You can have your own thoughts about them and how they're judgy or they're
Mhm.
hypocrites or whatever. Yeah, we are hypocrites, but we're trying not to be. I mean, yeah, we
Yeah.
all. Oh, that's good stuff. Have you ever seen The Best Christmas Pageant Ever? It was a new movie a couple years ago.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
you.
We
You're
watched
so
it.
you're the girl in
Yes.
there, aren't you? Okay.
Yes. That's right. That's
Imogene.
right. Yeah.
Imogene. That's it.
I
Every
am. And it's funny. It's funny because our kids were in a Christmas pageant and they were telling me how all of the kids were struggling that day. It was like we had just watched it, and or we watched it the night that they had gone to practice. And there were kids on the outside, some were from the local school, and they were struggling, and they
yeah.
were kind of rubbing off on my kids, and my kids were like, wait, this is how it is at practice. And then I got to remind them that's how mama was.
Yeah.
And because they don't see me that way. They see me as, oh, I want to be like you when I grow up. I want to love God like you love God. I want to pray like you pray. That's what they say. And I'm like, that was mama. And when they
Yeah.
hear that, because they can't put those two together, they're never going to actually put that together because they're
Right.
never going to witness me in the world the way that I was. But it's amazing those movies, to be able to, for me, speak to my children and say, oh, I was there.
Yep.
That was me.
Yep. Yep. That's what God can do, man. If the church, if the Christians get on board, man, that's it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Great movie. All right, let's move into, I don't know, high school, junior high, high school, teen years. Let's go there. I'm scared to hear how
Sure.
it's going to go now. We know it's going to be rough, but go ahead, let us
Yeah.
in.
Yeah, it was rough. It was definitely rough. And if anyone knows me from high school, they would probably say I was either the meanest person they knew or the most rebellious.
Okay. Okay.
And there were, yeah, I mean, just being transparent, I'm thankful to have relationships with some people who didn't see me that way because they were godly and they actually sought to love on me in high school, seeing
Yeah.
how broken I was. They could see past it. But I started, so we moved, I was 12 years old in Atlanta. And we had moved to Atlanta at that point, and my mom left and she came to Mobile. And during that time, from 12 until a little after my 13th birthday, I was living with my stepdad alone in Atlanta, and he was working nonstop. I was going to school on the bus, coming back, feeding myself dinner, just always by myself all the time. And during that year, I actually had, before she left, got a hold of a chronological Bible. I
Yeah.
asked them for it. So this is kind of before high school, but just a little background. So I asked for a chronological Bible because my brothers read Harry Potter and I wasn't allowed to read Harry Potter. So you're probably wondering, like, where's the theology coming from that her mom has? My mom came from a Catholic background, but it also was, I think, not consistent. So I have Catholic friends that are very consistent, into every ritual that they do is very, they're on it and they do it to honor the Lord. I have friends in the Catholic Church that are incredibly inspirational.
Sure.
But the way that my mom was raised, I don't think that she had a lot of the Catholic real background, is more just like here and there services, maybe mass here and there. I don't know that there was any kind of consistency in that upbringing. So I say that so you have like an idea. So there was this thought of Jesus, this heart for Jesus, but I don't know that it was ever actually able to be lived out in the full during my childhood. And so but because they were reading Harry Potter, she said that was witchcraft. I wasn't allowed to read it, but they were allowed to read it. So I thought that was interesting. I was like, well, what can I read? And I remember seeing a Bible one time and thinking it was the biggest book I had seen. And that's why I wanted to read Harry Potter, because it was so big. And I'm like, I
Yeah.
want a big book. And so I asked for a Bible, and, it was huge. It's 66 books. So of course it was. And so I got this chronological Bible at Barnes and Noble, I think. And I remember just reading it. So that whole year I read through the Bible. And I actually continue that practice throughout the next few years that you'll hear about. So I read through it, didn't have the Holy Spirit in me. So really was reading bits and pieces, but man, was that book scandalous? Was that book full of even swear words were in the book? Things were happening that I didn't even know you were allowed to even talk about or mention. But then these godly people, in my brain, I started like, wait, maybe we're all the same. As I read these stories, maybe, the lady next door, maybe the kids across the street, we're all the same. I started to relate to the rebellion of the people within the stories.
Sure.
And so it helped me too to see God, see more about God. I still didn't know him, still didn't fully appreciate him, but I was learning God through the Bible, thankfully. And that's all him. Like, that's all his grace on my life to have, given me this desire to read, and then, the desire to outread my brothers in a book. And I just look back, it's all God. Like, all of that's just grace on my life. And I'm so grateful for it, because it's what pulled me through this next season. So my mom had left, I told you, and then I remember it so clearly. This shaped me. So I remember sitting in a closet. You would grab the extra phone in the house to hear what people were talking about on the other line or on the line. And I remember I grabbed the cordless phone and I got in our pantry so no one would hear me or see me. My stepdad was upstairs on the phone with my mom. And I'm holding the phone and I'm listening real carefully. It's on mute. And I hear, so I'm getting remarried. And I didn't even know my parents were divorced. And I'm sitting there and I just remember crumbling to the ground. And I remember the man she said that she was remarrying. So this year she was away. I had met him one time at a church service the year before. and he smoked and he drank. And in my brain, it was like the opposite of my dad, my stepdad, but he went to church. And I just remember sitting in that closet, and I just remember falling to my knees, and like as a little kid, just like, no. And it was like, but Chynna's gonna have to come here. Like she has to come home with me. And I remember going, no, 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 no. How can I run away? I thought of all of my plan, what I could do to stay with my stepdad. And I just, instead of keeping myself together, I ran up the stairs and I screamed, cried. And I just remember he held me so tight, like he always did. And he just held me in his arms and let me get it all out. And I said, how can she remarry? You're not even divorced. And he said, yeah, yes, princess. He called me princess. We are. And my world just went, because in my brain, I forgot to tell you this. My stepdad had been taking me to church the weeks before this.
Okay.
So we had been going to church together. And this was my first church experience was with him. And so he was this perfect dad. Like he was everything. He had taken care of me. He let me stay there. And even though I was caring for myself in the evening, we had church on the weekend, like we've got this new, don't you want to come? We actually thought together that if we went to church, she might come back. We thought we were so sinful and we even said that to each other, that she would come. How would you not come back?
Right,
we're going to church.
Right.
So that was a new practice we had started together, and it didn't work. So going to church isn't going to necessarily save your life, but we did try. And so that was really devastating. It was like, I remember looking at him and I was like, but we went to church. We're trying to connect with people. We're trying to be outside, as a little fragile being. And he was like, Chynna, I am so sorry. I don't know what to say. He's like, you're still coming for summers and Christmas, and we'll always stay connected. You're still my daughter. And, oh, it shifted me for sure. So I don't remember even how I got home, but I remember getting to Mobile, Alabama, and my whole life changed. I went from having everything, really spoiled, like everything I could want, to now we're living in this small house with a stepdad who smokes and drinks and goes to church, because apparently I'm like, that was more enticing than my perfect dad in my brain. And I just couldn't comprehend it. So I hated the smell of smoke. I would like choke up. And that's why I was so offended by it. It wasn't because he smoked. It was that it like actually physically hurt me. And I didn't like the way it smelled. But it was in the house at this point. And then we had to start shopping at like Goodwill, and we had gotten all of our clothes from all the high-end places. So here I am, like my whole life changed. So I'm in Mobile, Alabama, the last place on earth I want to be, living in this tiny house, no rules. I can go and do whatever I want. I can hang out with whoever I want, as long as I didn't interrupt, them or their life. And also now at this point, in my mind, marriage is not something that's sacred. Marriage, because I only knew the marriage of my mom and my stepdad. So I didn't know that was really an option. Even though I knew there was this story before, I didn't put it together until that point. At that point, it was like, oh, marriage is just like dating. And I'm now getting into my teen years. I'm in middle school, about to go into high school. And so things just started to shift for me. I went to a Christian school for my 8th grade year in Alabama. I don't think I told you that. So I went to a Christian school, had to memorize scripture, still reading through the Bible. And I actually made a 100 in the Bible class. I wasn't a good person. I wasn't the ideal person for a Christian school, but I was there because the public school was really bad. They had gun, they had to check everyone's bags for guns. Okay. And the honestly, I was the only white person in my school, the school. And there was apparently a target on me because I was the white girl, and everyone loved me. Everyone loved me. So that wasn't even a reality, because I went there for 6 weeks. That's how I know. Everyone loved me. It wasn't a reality, but the school was saying that they were scared for my safety. So my mom pulled me out and put me in the Christian school. And I'm thankful she did. And my stepdad covered that year for me to go to the Christian school. And at that Christian school, I was very quiet. I was very aware of all of these people knew God, but I didn't. And I studied everything that they were doing. I was paying attention. I also saw something I had never seen. I saw girls really care about the way they looked. They wore makeup. They wore short skirts. They disobeyed all the rules. And I was a rule follower. So I had my long skirt and my knee-high socks and my shirt tucked in and my ponytail back the right way, no makeup on, no jewelry. I did exactly what the rules said because I was a rule follower. But they weren't. And these were meant to be Christians who were raised in the church. And they were, their skirts were shorter than you can imagine. They untucked their shirts to rebel against the teachers. The makeup was caked on their face. And I just remember them telling me day after day that I needed makeup. Like you have too many freckles. You need to cover that up. Like you need makeup. You would look prettier. The boys would like you if you would. And these are
Yeah.
Christian girls, right? And
Yeah.
then that's what my only real experience with Christian girls was really rough. Eighth grade is not the time to do it. Parents, you might want to just homeschool them that year if you need to send them to school, and you're not Christians yet. But it was really rough. But the teachers were great. The teachers really loved on me. They helped me to see Christ. So I did see him through them, but I still felt on the outside like I'm just never going to fit in this Christian thing.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful for that year though, because if had I not had that year, I don't know that it would have continued the way that it did for me. So I ended up going to the biggest I ended up going to the biggest public high school. Freshman year, I went to one that's a little smaller, but I had a situation where a girl chased me up a stairwell and basically tried to force me to take off my clothes. It was crazy. It was like insanity. So I
Oh boy.
ran. I still not a Christian. Ran to the office, told them about it. They called my mom. Long story short, they had to find another solution for me. And eventually we ended up moving and going to another school. And that school was the biggest high school in our area, Murphy High School. And if you do any looking up of Murphy High School, it is the world. It is just, it's like you might as well send your kids to a bar every day, all day.
Oh.
There is studying that happens. If you're in the regular classes, there's not. I was highly intelligent as a kid, like straight 100 kind of kid. If I made a 96, I would boo-hoo up until this point. But when I got to school at Murphy, they're like, Chynna, take the regular classes. You'll pass them so fast. Like you don't even, pretty much not even here. And then take cross country for fourth block. You can get in, like do that way. Every fourth block you have cross country. You can literally leave the school if you want at third block. You don't even have to be here. It was all the rules were, now there were no rules and everything was shifting and you could just get away with the bare minimum, Chynna. And everyone was telling me, and I actually had the coolest brother in town. He was the fastest runner in Mobile. And that's not an exaggeration. He was so fast, could have gone anywhere he wanted. Just brilliant. I don't want to misquote his times, but I know that his mile at one point was under 5 minutes. So I don't know how fast he was, but he was fast. I mean, I don't even remember how fast he got, but that's my last memory of his fastest mile. So he was really fast and he trained me up. He was my best friend at that point. I started to cling to him because at home, it was more like, my parents, my new stepdad and mom did their thing. My real dad in my heart was in Atlanta. Couldn't wait to get to summer. Couldn't wait to get to Christmas. I was going to behave there, but I didn't have anyone watching me to behave at school or with these kids. And we were popular. I mean, this was Chynna Love Lee and Damian Lee, and they're the cool kids and they're fast runners and they'll do whatever. I would do whatever. My brother was actually really reserved and he just brought me to the parties. He didn't do the things at the parties, but he would bring me, oh, you want to meet these kids or you want to go here or you want to do this. And he introduced me to all the cool guys and everyone would say things like, well, you're really pretty. I'm sure I want to like throw out names, but I won't. I'm sure so-and-so would really like to date you. And I mean, it was like the thing. And so I remember thinking if I could just get so-and-so to date me, that would be enough. Everyone would really think that was cool then. And in order to do that, you had to go to the parties, you had to drink, you had to experiment with the other things that the kids were doing at the parties. And I chose a life that was not healthy. My junior year really is when it got bad. And the end of my junior year, beginning of my senior year, I was just really struggling. So because you start to slowly let yourself go. You go from being straight A's, 100, highly intelligent, great plans for school. Like I'm only going to Yale, just all the things to let's see what you can get away with. Like no one really cares anyway. And then I would go visit my stepdad over the summer or over Christmas. And I would change character. I would go to church with him. I would be very respectful to his new wife. I would just everything about me, my demeanor changed, the way I dressed changed, the conversations I had changed because that's where I wanted to be, deep in my heart. That's where I wanted to be. I wanted to have that real life, that normalcy that I didn't have at home. And so I had these two lives I lived in high school where people didn't know that I grew up. See, people thought that I was just really poor, really, really this, but just really cool. Like it just, it was like I was poor and I was rebellious, but I was really cool and easy to hang out with.
Okay.
I grew up in a situation for me as, yeah, I was born into a really awful situation, but from what I could remember from 4 until I was 13 was I had everything I ever dreamed of. My life was wonderful. I went on all these trips with my family. I explored places no one's ever been before. My brain, I'm like, I thought we had this great life. So
Mhm.
I always held on to this facade that like somehow I could get back to being her, or I needed to get back to being her. And so there was this back and forth. People didn't know about my stepdad, but deep inside, like I thought that's what would make me likable. That's what, if they knew that this life I used to live or who I am on during summer and Christmas. And oh, it was tough. Like, I would be barely, I would eat an apple a day, like no joke. Like I would buy my own food in high school. I worked really hard and I would buy my own food. I would like drink a smoothie and that would be my meal for the whole day. And I was a runner. So, I'm running twice a day too. And I'm drinking a smoothie and I just look back, I'm like, God sustained me. But then so I'd live this life where it was that way. And then I would go to Atlanta and it'd be like, all the food I wanted and
Yeah.
private jet to Indiana. And let's just go. You want to go see these really amazing cars in my boss's garage. And it's like, you open this garage that's bigger than any house I've ever lived in with all these fancy cars. And I don't know what it means, but in my world, I know, whoa, if my friends could see this side of, my life and my
Yeah.
reality, this is who I hang out with on the weekends. But I also didn't want to embarrass myself that like I live this world in December and May through July, and I live this world that you see here.
Yeah.
So I think I just had this identity crisis. It
Yeah.
was like I never knew who I was. I didn't belong. Am I meant to be poor? Am I meant to be rich? Because in one way, in the Bible, it's telling me it's good to be poor. And in another way, the friends at school are telling me that I don't fit in because I'm not rich, or the boy doesn't like me because I'm not this or that.
Yeah.
And so I always struggled and I always needed the attention of the guys because when they would show me kindness, I felt like I had, I don't know, I had reached something that I couldn't reach at home.
Yeah.
And it was really sad. It was really difficult. So yeah, a bunch of rebellion through high
Man.
school. And then I was given a scholarship to a Christian school for running.
Yeah,
So
let's go
that's the end of
there.
my,
Let's do
yeah,
that. Running takes you to
sure.
college. Man, I
Yeah.
always get choked up when I hear these stories because I just think, man, if I had applied myself a little harder, maybe you could have got a college scholarship. And I got kid
Yeah.
approaching his senior year and he's getting college visits and all this. And it's like, Bubba, you wasted. You just wasted. You chose all that stuff you were talking about. You chose to prioritize that rather than, athletics. But yeah, so okay, that's not about
Yeah.
me. Anyway, go
Oh, that's
ahead.
awesome. No, I love it though. I love it. And all of our stories kind of, intertwine. And that's the beauty of God. It's like he's using our stories to remind us and to encourage us and inspire us to move forward in a new direction. Even me,
Yeah.
like my story actually promotes in me good
Yeah.
because I want to do more for my children now. Right.
Yep.
So it's so beautiful how God does that. So I was a senior in high school. A lot of my friends were Christians. A lot of them taught me how to smoke. A lot of them taught me how to drink. A lot of them invited me to the party. I'm not kidding.
Come
So their
on.
parents were solid. So I would then end up at their house and their parents would be teaching me the Bible, praying over me, inviting me to church services. And so I would do that. I would do the things, I would hear a little bit of this, but then I would see the opposite in their kids. So I had a lot of confusion trying to balance, like, what does it mean to be a Christian? I actually got baptized like 2 or 3 times in that period of time, thinking like that was going to rescue me. It did not,
Oh,
guys. Don't do it. Don't fall for it. It did not. So, but the beauty was God saw me desperately seeking truth and not knowing
yeah.
what truth was because I'm hearing, here, you got to smoke this cigarette and you got to drink this alcohol and you got to do this thing. But then, hey, come to church with me on Sunday. So there was really, obviously, there was going to be confusion, right?
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
of course. And so I would wish that on no one. Those kind of friends, I love them and they're so precious and they actually probably helped get me to the Lord. But it was very tricky. It
Well,
was a
yeah.
weird balance.
What does the Bible say? It says you can't serve two masters. You can try and fool
Yeah, that's
yourself all
right.
you want, but if you're doing what you say you're seeing, and even what you were doing, a double life, well, you're not living a double life. You're choosing one over the other. If you're not with God,
Yes.
you're against him. No matter
Yep.
how good it looks, it doesn't matter. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's exactly right. So then because of how bad I had gotten so dependent on things and it only went for like truly 9 months. I'd say that I mean in a really bad place. Like people said that they actually the senior superlative they gave me that year was most changed since ninth grade. And so what they meant by that was you came in here as this innocent little rule follower and you left. You're leaving us as the most rebellious,
Oh, wow.
worldly, I mean, skimpy, like all the nasty that I could have been, I was it. And they were calling me out. And I remember because I should have got most beautiful eyes. Like I had been told, so in my little 12th grade, I'm like, they told me I was going to get most beautiful eyes, and I got most changed since ninth grade, and
Yeah.
everyone's like, "You're more that than you are that," and I was like, "Oh
Yeah.
my goodness!" And I just remember like hearing that, and that might have been one of the things that shifted for me too. But I remember hearing that, and I had this one friend named Ben LePaine, and he was actually in the 8th grade that I was in at the Christian school, and he was also at the public school for high school. And he was, I think, 2 grades younger than me, but I knew his older brother. His older brother was in the party scene. So I knew his older brother. But Ben was this sweet, like a younger brother to me at school. And he would
Mhm.
bring his Bible every day. He started becoming on fire for the Lord my senior year. And I think he was a sophomore. I can't remember, maybe even a freshman. I don't remember. But he would bring his Bible to school, and he would just talk about it at lunch. And so I would go and sit with him and listen to him. And I remember just thinking, okay, he accepts me, and he's actually truly seeking the Lord. This is for the first kid I ever
Yeah.
saw truly seeking God, had no other agenda but to honor God on our campus. And I thank God for that, because I swore I was never going to drink again. I was never going to be in that scene again. I had actually been living with gang members.
Oh,
I had been,
my.
I never even told you this. I forgot. I had been living with gang members for like 3 months. And then my stepdad called me and said, "Hey, are you coming for Christmas?" And I I thought, "Oh my goodness, how am I ever going to explain myself?" And I remember telling my friend who also lived there, I said, I'm going to leave and I'm never going to come back." And she said, "You better be careful for your life." And I was like, "You're right. You're right." And I left, and they gave me a going away gift. I brought it with me, and I went to a party, and I did I would say it's like the bare minimum at the party, like really the bare minimum, but I still drank and I still did the things. And I remember my best friend from Atlanta drove me home to her house, and I had to get her to pull over multiple times so I could throw up. This is relevant because this is where God really changed my life. And I just remember her like walking me up a staircase in her house, and I threw up on her carpeted staircase. And when I
Mhm.
did, I heard it in my head. Her parents were Christians, and they were beautiful Christians and very forgiving and loving. And they're one of the reasons I thank God too for putting in my life to show me what Christ looked like
Yeah.
with a married couple. But in that moment, I'm not even kidding. I heard it so clear. And whether it was the influence of the things or if it was just God Himself, "Are you sick of it yet?" And when I heard
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
I remember it was like I was all of a sudden sober minded, and I was sick of it
Yep.
yet. And I
Yep.
was never going to touch it again. And that was the day that I knew that I would never, ever smoke or do the things ever again. Like I just knew without a doubt in my mind, I was never going to get drunk again. I was never going to be that person again, but I still didn't know Christ. So then I get this scholarship to a Christian college. So that whole Christmas happens. Things are on a good end. I'm feeling good coming back. And when I get back, I get letters in the mail from a Christian college, another college in Alabama, and they're offering me scholarships for running. And I didn't even know I was ever going to get a scholarship for running. I didn't think I was that fast. I was fast, but not the fastest.
Sure.
And so I considered both, and the Christian college was the best option for me because it was local and I didn't need help to move there. I could just pack up my car, drive myself there because I knew my
Mhm.
parents weren't going to help me get to college. So I was like, well, I'll do the Christian one. I mean, it's right here.
Yeah.
I should do this. So I started talking to the coach, and she was so lovely. Just sweetest, godliest woman, just so delicate, didn't have children. I don't even know if she was married. She was just like the definition of what I wanted to be. She was it. And so I was like,
Mhm.
yes, I'm definitely gonna love this here. So I ended up going, and they all knew I was rebellious, but that I was a fast runner. And so I ended up going. And the first semester, I managed to flunk freshman seminar, which you can't do. You literally cannot do. Like you have to not go to class because you don't. It's not even. It's 1 credit hour. You don't even do any work. You just have to show up. And I didn't show up, so I failed freshman seminar my freshman year of college, and that was a wake up call for me. And when I did, I remember once again, I got a call that my grandparents actually asked me to go to Colorado for Christmas. Went to Colorado for Christmas. And while I was there, I had another like come to Jesus moment because I still was in the world that freshman year. Like I still was I wasn't doing drugs, wasn't doing any smoking, but I was still in the world. I was still drinking. I was still hanging out with the wrong kids. I was
Yeah.
still promiscuous, if you will. I was still wearing the most like scandalous looking outfits that I please delete those pictures if you have them, cut them up, put them in the fire for me. Still that kid.
Mhm.
And I was in a relationship with someone that was in a relationship with two other girls. So I'm like, my identity was still wrapped up in what guys thought of me, tried so hard, wasn't getting anywhere.
Mm.
And when I went to Colorado, I actually prayed for one of the first times, like genuinely prayed. And I prayed to God. I said, God, if you're out there and you actually care about me, I need you to get rid of this guy in my life. Like he cannot be there when I get back in January. I'll give you my whole life. And I said this, that I'll give you my whole life if he's not there. His dad was one of the people who put money into the school. Like, there's no way he's going to lose his scholarship. There's no way anything bad could happen to him.
Yeah.
But I said it. I prayed it anyway. I got a call the next day, no joke. And he calls me and he said, did you pray? Because I used to tell him, if I pray about something, I know God will answer me. I just would say that. Like, I knew God was going to answer. And he said, did you pray? And I said, about what? And he said, I lost my scholarship. I got an email this morning that I cannot come back to school. And he had like 6 reasons why. And I was like, what? He
Wow.
said, yeah, this morning I got an email. He said, what did you do? And I said, I did pray. So I started laughing. And I was like, well, goodbye to you. I remember I was like, well, goodbye to you. And he's like, that's not funny. And one of my favorite songs was Goodbye to You. And I was like, no, for real, like, goodbye. Like, I prayed this because I want to follow God. And he was like, all the best. And he's like, but I'm still here for you if you ever need. I'm like, no, I won't ever need
I'm
you.
out. Oh,
I'm out. I remember, and I remember getting to school, and it was like there was this new skip in my step, like God answer my prayer, God of
yeah.
the universe who
Yeah.
answered my prayer. But yeah, so then I ended up getting invited to a prayer meeting that like within a week of me being back at school. And these kids should not have invited me once again, like no reason. They were the most on fire, faithful, loving kids I knew.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, just beautiful. If I could be like them, I would be like them kind of people. And they invited me to this prayer meeting and I got there and I had shin splints and I'm a runner. So they're like, hey, sit in this chair. We'll pray for you. Can we lay hands on you? And I'm like, oh, I guess that's kind of
Uh,
weird.
yeah.
I remember like, oh, I guess fine. The only church I'd gone to were Baptist, and they just didn't do that. So I was like, go for it. So they prayed for me. They laid hands on me, and the first thing that they prayed was, Holy Spirit, will you please fill Chynna from her head to her toe? And there was something in that moment that shifted in me. It was like I truly was filled with the Spirit for the first time. So I had longed for it. I had known there was something that separated me from Him. I didn't know what it was. And I'm not saying there's this grand Spirit filling for everybody like this, but there was something in that moment
Yeah.
that shifted in me. When I opened my eyes, the room was bright and I could see clearly. And
Yeah.
I felt one with God. Like, wait, He accepts me.
Yeah.
And I remember going back to my dorm, got rid of all my clothes, Bubba. I'm not even kidding. Got like black bags, threw them in the trash. It was like a walk all the way. I had to walk across campus to this big dumpster. A TV that I had that was a box TV, carried that thing to the dumpster, got all my VHS, whatever I had, all the things I had for that, all my CDs, threw
Yeah.
them away. I knew in my heart that everything I had been consuming and living out was distracting me and pulling me away from a real oneness with God.
Yeah.
And because I was accepted and because I knew He was there within me, I wanted nothing more than to stay clean. And so I got rid of the world in me. And I started walking in a brand new way
Mm.
that day. And the campus didn't like it. That was interesting.
You shared that. That's hard. I love you're the second guest in a row to talk about that moment in college where they said, "That's it. I'm getting rid of this. I'm getting rid of that. I'm clearing out all that stuff." So I love hearing these stories. That's great. Sometimes it's got to be that drastic, and people probably saw you and thought, "What is this crazy chick doing? Throwing all of her stuff
Yeah.
out, throwing her TV away, all this." But man, that's what you got to do. I mean, you got to make room for God and get rid of the. Yeah, that's one of the biggest themes in the Screw Tape letters that C.S. Lewis wrote. He's like, if you could
Mhm.
just keep the human being distracted, hey, this stuff isn't horrible. This isn't demonic. This
Mhm.
isn't evil, but it's just
Yeah.
enough of a wedge to keep you from ever realizing, no, God's got something better. God will save you. I love it. Let's talk
Yeah.
about that, the transformation, because yeah, when you have a background, when you have a history and you come to Jesus, and sometimes when it's that big of a turnaround that fast, it scares people and it makes people skeptical. So tell us a
Hmm.
little bit about what that was like, because there's two ways to handle that as a fellow believer. I mean, you can with open arms, oh, we love this, we love the new
Hmm.
China, or you can be like, yeah, prove it to me, you know.
Yeah. So I had both. And I look at it and I go, God was in both. God's spirit was in both of those sides where it was, hey, let's receive her with open arms. And the other one that was, hey, let's be very cautious of China.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I look back because in the time it didn't feel like that. You're like, oh Lord, please just shield me, just help me stand firm. But he was in that because it was this accountability. It was this, no, this is real. This is who I am, and this is who he says I am, and I'm going to walk it out. Thankfully, my cross country coach saw me and recognized all the changes and immediately put me in the position of captain. I think within 6 months. It was like, you're the person I want leading our girls.
Sure.
Like, I don't want,
Sure.
and that recognition and that acceptance of my deliverance and freedom and life in Christ actually helped me to once again stay accountable to myself and to my own word. And even the people that did accept me, sometimes I would watch them truly mourn over me. Like one girl, her mom was in a meeting, and in the meeting they told her, you need to be really careful of China and her group of friends. We don't trust, we just don't trust what this change she's had, or this new life she's claiming to live.
Mhm.
And my friend was friends with me, and her mom was being told that her daughter shouldn't hang out with me. And I remember her just mourning and like weeping, like, I don't know if we can stay close. And I was like, well, we can. We'll just show them that I'm
Yep.
walking with the Lord. It's okay. And if things change, that's fine too. Like, I remember I was such an alliance to Christ alone at that point that it didn't really matter. But both sides were helping me stay in balance. And I also witnessed miracle after miracle, Baba. It was very strange for me because I had only ever seen the Baptist church, and we weren't praying for miracles there. We were just walking in the Lord. They were just walking in the Lord and singing their
Mhm.
beautiful hymns and
Mhm.
just as innocent and precious as could be. And miracles might have happened, but more secretive, like, praying long term for someone's healing or something like that. Whereas I'm talking about miracles that happen instantaneously. And I'm like, okay, Lord, you're trying to show me you're not going to be put in a box. Like, I
Yeah.
remember one girl came to me immediately when she saw the change, and she had been living with me. She was my suite mate. I didn't have a roommate. She was my suite mate. She was also on the cross country team. And she came knocking on my door and asked me to pray over her. She said she was just diagnosed with cancer.
Uh,
And I remember just standing there frozen, asking, what, like, you want me to pray? Uh-huh. I would love to. Like,
yeah.
I didn't know even what to do. I didn't know what to do. And I just remember going in there. She had a group of friends in there, and one of my friends was with me. And I did the same thing those kids had done for me. And I just put my hands on her gently and I just prayed. I just started praying. And I just asked that if there was anything in her that needed to leave, that God would have it leave her body immediately, and she would be healed
Mm.
in the name of Jesus Christ. And that was it. It was so simple. And there was a wind that came through her door, slammed shut her door, slammed shut her window everyone in the room at the same time. Everyone in the room just stood there. And I remember thinking, what have I got myself into? This is not God. Like, what is this,
Oh,
Lord?
yeah.
It was all,
Yeah.
it was all new for me. I didn't know he was still healing, and I didn't know what that wind was. It was like so wild. 2 weeks later, she comes running to us, and it interrupts. We were making spaghetti and salad with strawberries, never forget, and like cutting up the salad stuff. And she comes running in with this paperwork, and she's not a bold girl, like very quiet, keeps to herself, doesn't, China, look. And she's like, God answered us. And I was like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know what the medical jargon was. I'm reading it like, and she's like, I'm healed. There's nothing. They don't
Gone.
see anything. It's
Yeah.
gone. And I'm like, whoa, like, whoa. And I just remember, so I'm saying that because obviously there's going to be some kind of, if someone came, someone's got this history, and then they're praying over people and cancer's being healed and people are whispering about it. That could be a problem if it's not from the Lord. But God was showing me in that time of my life that he wasn't going to be kept in a box, and I was going
Yeah.
to need his supernatural healing. I was going to need his supernatural love and guidance throughout my life, because it wasn't going to be easy just because I followed him. And
Yeah.
I thank him for those people that trusted me to pray, because it shifted my thinking on who he is. He can do whatever he wants. Do I see him
Mhm.
healing cancer every single day? No. Do I see people even in my Baptist church praying for healing of cancer? Yes. Our pastor just had to step down because he had cancer. He had been I think there was a part that had been healed, and then he's going back into it. And so he literally had to step down. Our pastor had to step down because he has cancer. Are we not earnestly praying that God's going to heal him? Are we believing for his healing? Absolutely. Are we Baptists? Absolutely. And I think what God was showing me then was, how dependent are you on me? How dependent are you? What are your expectations of me? Do you think I care about these things? Or do you think some things we just wait till heaven for?
Yeah.
And it created in me a dependency on God. I think I really just went into a whole nother trail, but it made in me a dependency on God that no matter who the world says he is, no matter what my mind tries to tell me he does and doesn't care about, he does care. And I can trust him, and I should trust him no matter what it is. Does that mean he's going to answer me the same way every time? Absolutely not. Does that mean that he loves me the same way every time? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Oh, that's good stuff. We got a kid in our town right now we're praying for. He had leukemia as a young boy and beat it, went into remission, and now he's a senior this year and it's back. And, we just prayed within the last couple of weeks during worship, apart from a miracle, that's what the medicine is basically at the point where there's nothing more they can do. And he's struggling. So from the pulpit, we just said, Lord, we need a miracle. We're asking for a miracle. And he's going to answer. He's going to answer it one of two ways, or one of three ways, really, if you look about it. Sometimes it's yes, no, or not now. Just keep waiting. So, yeah, that's hard for people to grasp sometimes. But God still loves us. He's still there with us. That's all good stuff. But so I understand when people are a little bit skeptical, because I think the Bible does say, God can do whatever he wants to do. But when it comes to looking at people, you say, we can never know a person's heart, but you sure can look at their fruit. And so that's just what I go by. I just look at the fruit, give it time, and then you'll know what's going on inside of a person. You'll know what's going on in their life. The truth will come out. So, but that's not for us to know right away all the time. But go ahead and be skeptical, but just look at their fruit is what I kind of say. So what comes next? How do we move into the end of college and moving into adult womanhood and marriage and kids and all that good stuff?
yeah. So we'll have to do a little fast forward for a part of my life, because basically after in college, I was introduced to someone. I ended up getting married and moving overseas.
Mm-hmm.
And the situation was not what I thought it was. And I was being deceived in many ways. And there were just things happening behind the scenes that I do not agree with and couldn't be a part of. And thankfully, in my naivety, God rescued me. But I ended up as a single mom with 2 kids. And I was very young. And I met my husband, Patch, who was an atheist. And during that season, I was going through such a battle of, I have been so obedient to you for 8 long years, and all I've ever done is serve you, and I obeyed you, and basically just kind of questioning, why, God, why am I here by myself in this
Sure.
situation? This is not what I would want. And I kind of asked God, can I make a couple decisions myself right now? I've been doing it your way. Can I just make some decisions? And I do not recommend that, guys. Don't ever do that. It's the last thing you should ever do. And I do not recommend to anyone. I ended up marrying my husband, who was an atheist at the time. And he was the most protective, thoughtful, doting person I'd ever met. And he wasn't afraid of my faith. But thankfully, God used my faith what I thought was dwindling at the time, because there were multiple things. My stepdad died in that time. I nearly died in childbirth. With our second, I nearly died. And then I went through a divorce, and it was very traumatic. And I found out things that should never be uncovered. I'm like, oh, if we could keep that in the dark forever and I'd be okay. But then, I'm going through all of this trauma, and then I'm thinking my faith is just dwindling. Like, how is God going to hold me? The mentors in my life were like, Chynna, hold on another day. It's going to be okay. And I just wanted to call my stepdad all the time and couldn't. And here comes Patch, and he's the person I can now talk to, and he's explaining everything, and he makes sense of the world, and he accepts me in my weakness and in my lack of faith. But in him, he's actually watching my faith. So we've been married. At this point, we get married. We've been married for 4 months. He says he wants to go to church with me. I hadn't been going to church for 4 months because we've been married. So he takes me to church, and then he starts reading the Bible to me every night. And all of a sudden, he's relating to the stories of Jacob, and he's like, wait, if this guy can love the Lord and be known as a pillar of the faith, why can't I come to him? I'm like, you can. I'm like, we should pray right now. We're like, it's just this nonstop, back and forth, seeking the Lord together, and me re-seeking the Lord in a way, just trusting God again. Like, God, okay, I'm going to give this part of me to you. And then learning how to love someone who didn't have the same faith as me, and watching my husband baby crawl to Jesus for years. I mean, I mean, 6 years, almost 7 years, just baby crawling to Jesus. And sometimes he leads in a way that's like, whoa, you've been walking with the Lord way long. In my brain, it feels like you've been walking forever with him. And there are times where he still is backtracking and having to learn how to talk kinder or do the thing, the right thing, like we all are. But watching him walk with the Lord has been for me a testimony of God's love for me, that he would allow him to come to Christ so that I can remain in faith in my marriage,
Yeah.
because divorce is not an option for me. It's not. And I married an atheist at the time, so thank God that I am not wrestling with someone who won't pray with me, or wrestling with someone who won't take me to church, or wrestling with someone who,
Right.
because that could have been my situation.
Yeah.
But God in his mercy allowed that. And so Patch has been such a gift in that way. And then also he's so business minded. He's super successful in his thinking and in his ways, and everything he's done for his career path. So he actually saw in me this desire to start a business. And he
Okay.
kept on saying for years, he's like, what is it? Is it a clothing line? What is it? There's something that you're meant to be doing. And at the time I was wearing a ton of the waterproof jewelry because we were on the boat all the time. And he's like, I could get you those beads. You know that, right? And I'm like, no, you couldn't. These are like the special beads. I'm like, there's no way. I said, I'll give you 24 hours. I said, 24 hours. If you can find the beads, I will make some bracelets. Let's see what happens. And within like 18 hours, he had the exact company of the company I was wearing. He found I'm telling you, the exact thing, to the point that I emailed and I said, hey, I'm checking to see if this is the same quality as XYZ. And they wrote back and said, it is not only the same quality, it is the same bead. So that shifted for me. I was like, I guess I'm going to start a business. I had grown up around my grandmother here and there, and she was in love with gems. And so was my grandfather. These are my great grandparents, still alive. My grandmother is, and she's 101 this year. And she grew up around gems. Gems are all over their house. They are just really into that kind of thing.
Okay.
And they had beads everywhere. They would teach me my grandmother would teach me how to put together bracelets and necklaces. And I just remember doing that here and there. And it was so special because when you have a childhood like mine, where you don't know where you fit in and your grandmother helps you fit in, you don't forget those moments, right? So I'm like, okay, I can do this. This is something I've always done. And my mother also was very creative and would get me to do earrings and bracelets and necklaces when she was having good moments. She would do that. So that was a good memory. Like that was something where I'm like, anytime I did jewelry, everyone was happy. That's something you hold on to. But God uses that. He's got a plan. Like that's his plan. So yeah, I started making these bracelets, and I needed a bigger bead to tie off all the little ones. And I remember thinking, well, why would I do one if I could do 3 to represent Father, Son, and Holy Spirit? And I made that bracelet and I put it on, and I wanted to take all the other ones out because I had tons from the other brands off. I just took them all off, and I had that one, and I'm like, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, I want that with me everywhere. And that's when I started to go, wait, this should be more impactful than that. Like I could do this with every bracelet. They could all have a meaning for me. It wasn't even just for the girls. It was like, I need this. I need the Deuteronomy reminder, like on your wrist, on your head, on your neck. I needed it.
Yeah.
And so I was so grateful. So they actually, each piece started to inspire me. And then we created the entire website. We started doing all the business side of things. And I knew that was going to be a part of it. Share the Arrows really impacted me that year because I knew that I wanted to give back. And we were already going to launch this, but then Share the Arrows, when it happened, and I saw all of these companies giving back to pro-life pregnancy centers. I was like, you can do that? I know that because I grew up, I was in a home. I mean,
Yeah.
I needed their resources as a child. What if my mom had their resources and felt that acceptance? Everything started to roll. I'm like, whoa, we could do something impactful for these centers. We could give back. And so that's kind of how it happened. Patch's inspiration, encouraging me, my grandmother, my mother, teaching me jewelry making as a kid. And then it all just coming together. Share the Arrows, seeing We Heart Nutrition in 7 weeks, and Every Life. And those were companies I already supported, but it was like, wait, you can do that too. And I ran with it, and we launched like a month after Share the Arrows. So that 20% idea happened within a month, and I was like, I'm doing it. If I don't do it now, I'll start a business and I won't do it. I've got to just run with the 20%. So I just stuck with my convictions, and that was our first claim, and that's where we've been. But
I love it.
yeah.
I love it. Yeah. All those, for the audience, if you don't know, Share the Arrows is a big women's conference Allie Stuckey does every year. And man, it's got to be, I mean, you've been there, it, like it's got to be about the best thing young and old women alike can go do together. And I love the theme
Yes.
behind it. Allie Stuckey, she's like a national treasure. She's awesome. I love it. I mean, at the beginning of the podcast, I remember thinking I was going to have time to do like a separate segment or like ads. And I actually did do a couple like just free ad reads for some of those companies, 7 Weeks Coffee and Every Life and some of these pro-life companies and stuff, because I was really seeing a few years ago, like there was a secondary economy forming because you realized some of these other
Mhm.
companies, Target and all these other ones, man, they just supported moral issues. They were on the wrong side of things. And I was like, well, instead of giving them my money, I'd rather buy this cereal, that's made all,
Yeah.
it's and just all these different things. And it's cool to see that your company is in that same group. So how did you settle on the name?
Yes, we actually thought that we would be called Give Big, which was BYG. We knew we were going to give back to something. We didn't know what. So BYG stood for Give Before You Get. So you would
Okay.
buy from us knowing you were giving back to some kind of organization. We didn't know where we were going to go. We had a heart for the unborn, but we didn't know how to really go about that until Share the Arrows. It just clicked. It was like, oh, duh, why would you not give back to them,
Yeah.
the pro-life pregnancy centers? So we were settled on Give Big for a few months there, and I remember really thinking about it, and I thought that's not feminine enough. I don't like it, and I just really struggled with it, and I prayed about it, and I was like, God, I just need an idea, like give me ideas. And the thought occurred to me, you love Hebrew
Mhm.
and you want to give. So what is the Hebrew word for give? And I'm like, what is give? How do, and then I saw that Natan, it's actually Natan, but we're in the South, so that wasn't going to flow. So we
Sure.
pronounce it Natan, that Natan actually means to give, but it
Yeah.
also, because it's a palindrome and it's spelled the same way backwards, it also means to receive. So it's when you receive your Natan jewelry,
Oh,
you already gave back. So I'm like, yes, Lord.
wow.
So then I put it into the font that I had for Give Big, and the T is like huge, like a cross. And I'm like, oh, this is it. I'm like, this is the
Wow.
name. And I'm like, Patch, come look at this. So I show him, the logo that I pulled up, and he's like, Chynna. And I'm like, I know, I'm so excited. So it just
Wow.
happened. It was just like, instantaneous. Just this little thought after praying, and I'm like, there it is. That's it.
I
So
love it. Man, I didn't know that part. I knew it meant give,
yeah,
but wow, yeah, spelled backwards. Yeah, it's the same thing. And oh, that's awesome. Where can
yeah,
the people listening, now that they're hooked, they got to see this stuff, they got to buy this stuff.
yeah.
Hopefully we're going to be giving some stuff away before your episode releases, or maybe while this episode is out, we're going to be doing a giveaway. Where can people
Yes.
go? How can they connect with you? Get to your website and see your stuff.
Okay, the website is www.natan.gives. So it's www.natan.gives.
Okay. And then if people want to see you and connect with you on social media, is that the same handle?
Yeah, on Instagram, we're just at Natan.gives. So it's the Natan dot Gives.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. Share the arrows. I mean, you've been to Turning Point USA events, you've been to live action events. Uh, because I've been following you for a while, I see you got invited to the live action like VIP dinner recently. And so you've got some bigger, well-known people who are in the public eye. I don't like calling people celebrities and stuff like that because we're all still people. We all have bad breath in the morning. We all put our pants on the same way. So I
Yeah.
just don't get hyped up over people, but people who are more recognizable. I got a few names
Mhm.
here. I mean, who are some of the bigger people that you've got to meet because of your company and being in the pro-life movement?
Yeah. So I would say there are a few. Ali Beth Stuckey, you mentioned.
Mm,
I've had the chance to meet her very briefly, and then also to gift her with jewelry, and she's worn our jewelry and supported us, which has
yeah.
been a blessing. Riley Gaines, Barker. She's incredible. Love her so much. She's actually been such a gift to our business. Just promotes and swims, like she swam Alcatraz in our jewelry, and that was for
Yeah.
me such a gift because you're like, okay, we have tried and tested it. You can't
Yep.
tell me you're going to swim anywhere else that's going to be any more rough on that jewelry.
Yeah.
So that was cool. Caitlin Wheeler's her best friend who actually
Mhm.
introduced me to her, and she's one that I would consider a sister, like just so dear. I love her so much. And so those three, and then Noah Estrella, like you said, love her so much. Madeline Hargis is the reason why I went to the VIP dinner at the live action event. She invited me as a guest. So that was so sweet to be able to go. And I was filming her and just taking photos, but also soaking it all in. Got to meet Lila Rose there. Lila was asking how she hadn't heard of us yet. I slipped a bracelet on her wrist and she wore it the whole event, like loved it. Her assistant was like, yes, do it, and so I did. And she's just been so supportive. They've reached out and asked for write-ups on me. And so they're doing articles and things. And that's been great. Live action, such a gift. There are so many and I don't want to miss them. Here Are the Headlines is a news outlet that I love so much. She's an independent news source and she's incredible. Rachel Reeves, I love her. She's one I met through this.
Did I see Lee Allen Baker posing with a box that had a bracelet?
That's right. Yeah. So it was funny because I had no intention of bringing her any jewelry, but I just so happened to have our kids with us that day. And they were saying how they really wanted to get her some silver jewelry because she wears silver, mom, and blue's her favorite color. They watch her on Iggy and Mr. Kirk. And so the way that we had it set up at that at the TPUSA event the other night was you got to go in privately and meet with her alone and just chat with her. Like it was just you and her. It was all the volunteers. And since we were there, they allowed us to go down there and asked us to go with them. So we went in and our girls gifted her with bracelets and necklace. And so she's, she was so sweet, so precious about it. And she hadn't heard of us yet. So it was nice. That was a good connection. Just she wanted to pose with the jewelry. And I thought that was so cute because we would never ask her to do that. But she's like, can I lift it? I'm like, yeah, you can. So that's always sweet. It's sweet when they're supportive, when these people who are just real people and just so sweet. There are others, and I really am sorry because I love them all so much. I think of them all as dear friends, like We Heart Nutrition, the company, the founder, Kristen. Kristen is one of those people that has supported me from day one and who I feel I owe the world to. Like I would give everything to her because she is a sister and a blessing to know. And she's someone I reach out to if I have business questions or need advice on anything. She has actually connected me with things like Share the Arrows and different people. And so she's been an amazing blessing in my life. And then just different companies like Good Ranchers. Corley over at Good Ranchers is one of those people that I love and I just love to stay connected with. And Natan has done this. God has allowed Natan to bring together so many people from different backgrounds, different stories, and just use us for his glory. And so I'm incredibly grateful to be a tiny, small part in what he's doing in the pro-life movement and within these businesses as well.
Yeah. I love what you're doing. I love what all those companies are doing. I think it's great. Everybody, if you're listening and you're like, never heard those names before, now's the time. Check them out because they provide stuff that you probably need or want. Yeah. So check it out. Especially go to the Natan website, check out some of that jewelry. It's spans the price ranges. Okay. So if you're like me and you're a little frugal, trust me, there's something there that woman in your life is going to love. If you like the higher end stuff, she's got stuff there for you as well. And go ahead and say the tagline for us.
Yeah. Natan Jewelry is jewelry that's handmade here in the USA by me. And you can swim, sweat, and shower in each piece. You don't have to worry about tarnishing. And I always say, come shop with us today and help save lives along the way.
I love it. Now that you guys know what Natan means, man, you're giving before you even get it. You're helping that mom. You're helping that girl that Chynna was, that needs those resources. You're helping moms choose life. I mean, it's putting your money where your mouth is. So go get you some. Don't rely on winning the giveaway that we're doing with this episode. Yeah. Go get your own as well. So be sure and follow Chynna on the Natan Instagram and all that good stuff. You won't be disappointed. It's good stuff. Okay, we ran over. That's okay. It's a good story. Lots of trauma in there, lots of healing, lots of examples of, just what God can do. God can bring beauty and healing out of the ashes. It's no joke. Chynna lived it, guys. That's going to do it for part 1 with her episode. I hope the stuff she shared with you encouraged you, enlightened you, maybe even challenged you to get some stuff out of your life, to give Jesus a look. You know what I mean? Sometimes that is a challenge. Everybody's got a story to tell, an experience to share, and that's what we do here. We let people share what life's been like for them. But this isn't the end of her episode. There's going to be a part 2 next week. You got to come back and listen to it. Now, that's where we're going to have some fun. We're going to do some segments. You're going to see another side of Chynna, trust me. And then we're going to get into serious conversation at the end. You're not going to want to miss it, so be sure and come back. If you enjoyed this episode, share it. Share it with family and friends. We're trying to grow just like everybody else. So like, follow, subscribe, and share it wherever you listen or watch podcasts. Then go to our social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. If you got questions, comments, ideas, you want some What Is Up merch, you can always email us, whatisuppodcast@gmail.com. But more importantly, if you need help with something or you want to talk about something you heard here today, you can reach out to either one of us. Okay, we will respond. We'll help in any way that we can. It's what we're here for. We thank you so much for listening. It means a lot to both of us. Lord willing, we'll talk to you next week.
It was such a blessing to be here and chat with you today, Bubba. And I am so encouraged by your podcast. And I just want to say that wherever you are, whoever you are, I hope you know that you were fearfully and wonderfully made by the God of the universe. And you are never too far gone for his love.
I love it. Amen to that.